this. Hi everyone, I'm here to talk about and review the 1991 sci-fi horror book Dracula Unbound. Yeah, I kind of did this out of order. I'm also doing Frankenstein Unbound this month, and this was actually the sequel to it. For some reason, I thought this came first, but I was wrong. So this book came out in 1991. It is a sequel to Dracula Unbound, and yeah, positive things to say about this. It's a sci-fi book and it's got vampires in it, but other than that, I wanted to like this book a lot more than I did, but it was it was a bit clunky and convoluted. So, yeah, it's about comes in at a little bit over 270 pages, and I think it would have been better well served if it would have been edited down a little bit and a little more streamlined, and there were some extraneous things could have been cut out of it, so probably would have been a tighter 225 200 page book. But yeah, so this book involves time travel, vampires, dinosaurs, uh has it all any good sci-fi fan would want in it, but just it's a bit of a mess. um it's got some fun parts, but a lot of it's a mess. Really wanted to like it and kind of fell flat. So the gist of the story is, where opens up in the far flung future of 2599, and it looks like the Earth is dying, and there's a group of scientists working on this top of this large windowless structure in the middle of a desert type region, and they're trying to harvest energy from the sun, which seems like the sun has flares at times, and seems like the sun's in a state of decay and dying, and they're harvesting and pulling in energy from the sun. And yeah, while they're doing this, like, they're being watched by another individual that's kind of described, and from the descriptions you get that he's a vampire. And but these scientists know that the sun's gonna flare up at a certain specific time, and when this happens, they use that as a distraction to get one of the scientists to escape, so he can travel back in time to stop the events that are occurring now in their present time of 2599. So yeah, one of the scientists escapes on a glider, and you think he's getting away, but kind of it'll turn out later that he actually never did get away. But then we quickly do a quick flash to present day in this book, which is 1999, and there is a scientist inventor guy, and doing a he's doing a little demonstration for the government. He's found a way to not really travel in time, but freeze time. And by freezing time, he thinks he's got a solution to toxic waste. Toxic waste is a big issue in this book, and he wants to use the stoppage of time to harness, get toxic waste, and freeze it in a certain specific time in the past, and then we don't. His thought is that we don't have to worry about it in the future. And at the time this is going on, his son's getting married, and his wife's mad at him because he's doing this demo, and he's supposed to be attending his son's wedding, and he's gonna be late for that. And um, it just turns into a whole big convoluted part of the story that was really unnecessary there. But and then goes to the son's wedding, and the wife's kind of upset with him. The son's a bit upset with him, and you get the little back information that there was another child, the older child that at one time that they have grandkids by and everything, and they died in the older son and his wife died in a car wreck. And the scientist inventor in this, named Joe, who's the main protagonist of the story, Joe Bodeland, he he kind of has regrets about what happened to it. And then his son's there and kind of not happy they showed up late. And then during the wedding, he gets a contact from an, a person. He's some paleontologist he knows somehow. I think it's supposed to be associated with his company or business out in Utah that's found evidence of a humanoid species dating back 65 million years ago. And so everything, like, they like all of a sudden cut the wedding short and they all jet set out to Utah, the whole family. Um, I didn't really understand that or why, but okay, so we got the whole family involved, and then there's a dilemma here that this is going to get out, and the paleontologist working with this gets out that humanoids existed at the time of the dinosaurs, which they shouldn't have. And yeah, these humanoids are have strange features and everything about them. The remains in this coffins you find, and then while they're on site and investigating it and trying to figure out how they're going to release this to the public, a strange phenomenon comes through. They describe it as a train coming through. It's like a ghost train almost, and they're caught off guard by it. And then Joe's insisting that he's gonna figure it out and get to the mystery of this and catch it again. And he uses his time stopping machine to help him get aboard with the paleontologist on site with him, and they get on board this machine, and it's a time train, and there's a vampiric being at the helm, and there's a couple other vampires that they fairly easily dispatch on the when they board it, and then um, Joe finally takes control of the time train, but his friend's killed in the interim on the time train, and the the engineer of the train tells them that the train's course is scheduled for in the 1890s to pick up an agent that's been uh, sent to interfere and monitor with the writings of Bram Stoker. And Joe just kind of gets on the train and shows up in Bram Stoker's time, and Stoker takes him at face value, and then blah blah blah. It's it's kind of this story's all over the place. It was really kind of hard to follow for me. Um, so yeah, they take this train back. They really can't mess with the coordinates too much, and they take the train back in time, and the the take it back to prehistoric times at one point, and then in the interim of all this, and Joe's taking in the whole scenery and everything when they make one of their stops in prehistoric times, and um yeah, the remains of his dead friend fall out and kind of eaten by a giant toad, and then I don't even know why they had to bring that into the story, but then the time train takes off again, and then he's using it to make different stops. They go to pick up Bram Stoker in the 1890s. Joe just kind of introduces himself, meets Bram Stoker, has a whole big relationship with Bram Stoker, and stays with him for a couple days. And in the interim, Joe and Bram Stoker thwart the plans of at least they think they're thwarting the plans of the vampiric agent sent to the 1890s, but it was all a ruse in itself and part of a bigger scheme. Needless to say, they make a plan to go travel to the future to put a stop to this, and to put a stop to Dracula and his other vampiric beings in the future. And Joe learns from the vampiric agent in the 1890s, there is a large there. She reveals all this information conveniently to him about a large fission bomb that could wipe out all the beings, and she describes to him how these beings are going to meet in uh, prehistoric time in what's present day Hudson Bay. So Joe travels to the future. Antics ensue with he travels there with Stoker and Stoker's gardener, and antics ensue. And yeah, Joe's able to retrieve the fission bomb after a while, but then he gets thinks they're retrieving it, then he gets captured, then he goes, but Stoker and the gardener come and save Joe Bodolin from the his captors, and yeah, Joe Bodolin then uses the train. He goes, well, he goes, I can use the train, and then he goes back another 10 minutes in time, and he explains all the paradoxes that you would think would be caused by this time travel in short spans of time. He says the energy from that's generated for this vehicle to travel straightens out any paradoxes. So he goes back 10 minutes in time and kind of retrieves the bomb once again, and then goes to proceed, and he's going to take Stoker back to 1999 because Stoker's suffering from syphilis, and that's used as a plot device or contrivance to about the book he's writing. And Stoker's made out to be not a real faithful husband. Stoker professes his love and everything for his wife, and but he's a dog and he sleeps around and everything. So that was kind of clunky. It was like, I don't even know why I include that, but so they go back. He's got the bomb in possession. Takes Stoker to 1999. A little more chaos ensues. Then they're going to take the train, and then they take the train and get this device back to the prehistoric times when this meeting of all these vampiric beings are going to be at the Hudson Bay. And Joe Bodolin, with the help of Stoker, his gardener, and actually his son. His son is some type of hobby of flying like remote planes and stuff. So they attach the fission bomb remotely and to a remote flying plane, and then in the prehistoric area when all the vamps are uh, brought together, and they set off the bomb, and then they go back to 1999. And Joe takes Stoker and the gardener back with him. Joe doesn't want Stoker kind of informs him he needs to put it into this. He's just things are just going to get worse and worse if he doesn't. And then um, Joe finally agrees to. So Joe then takes Stoker back to his own time, and then Joe brings the train, and then he thinks he has a solution to the problem, and he's going to cause the train to collide with itself at another point in time, thus ending the rift in time and the comings and goings of the vampires from the past into the future and whatnot. But the gardener kind of comes to a realization, and I don't think Joe realized, kind of a eureka moment, that Joe may have stopped it for what seems to be his time, but just the course of events is just never going to stop. So, um, wasn't really a satisfying ending in the book. It just kind of built up all this tension and everything, and then there wasn't really a real clear, definitive, or good resolution. So, yeah, the book was a little bit of a fun romp, and the ideas were better than the execution, I guess. So, what should have been a great, fun story was kind of fell flat. It had time travel, had vampires, had um time travel, vampires, dinosaurs, all that worked together. Should have been a real exciting story, and just parts of it dragged, and a lot of it fell flat. And could have the book could have been condensed down to probably 200 pages and would have been a lot tighter read, and some of the extraneous stuff pulled on just didn't need to be there. So for this book, Dracula Unbound, I'm afraid I'm going to have to give it a 2 out of 5. And it's not real long, kind of a quick read, but you do. I had to bounce back and forth a little bit, so it took me a little longer than wanted to. The writing was a little bit clunky, so Yeah, that's my review of Dracula Unbound. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one for the next review.